Hello everyone. Now by the time I probably release this video, hopefully you guys who do have Pokemon Sword or Shield have got yourself a shiny Zeraora via the mobile version of Pokemon Home. And while you probably got your shiny Zeraora, you may have also got yourself all the 3 Galar starters with their hidden abilities. And boy, these 3 Galar starters are quite strong. However, today I'm going to talk about which Galar starter is the strongest competitively in Wi-Fi battles. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to make like an upper criteria or something where I'm going to go through 7 things. Now, first of all, I'm going to go through the highest damage for the move the Pokemon is going to use the most. Then the typing, the move coverage, the most bulky, the hidden abilities, the speed, and any negative things about each of the Pokemon. And then at the end I'll do a verdict and say which one I believe is the best, the second best, and the worst, even though they are all superb. Now before I start this video, is that I'm not that good at Pokemon or any competitive Pokemon or anything. All I do is just play Wi-Fi battles and I'm not that good at it. I'm just saying my personal opinion on my experiences and how I believe which Galar starter is the best through them. So if anything is wrong during this video, please let me know in the comments down below. However, just be respectful about it. Okay? Anyways, I guess we should begin. So first of all, I do have all 3 of the Galar starters with their hidden abilities, and I'll show you my sets later on. First of all, I'm going to go through the highest damage for the move the Pokemon is going to use the most. Now here's some rules before I say what move will be the strongest. Now first of all, I'll exclude any extra slash lesser damage from baton pass stat changes or any stat changes in general. Also, I'll exclude any weather or terrain which aren't activated by the Galar starter Pokemon. Finally, I'll only count a single turn of setup, not more than 1 turn of setup. Now first of all, I'm going to talk about Rillaboom. So with Rillaboom, in my opinion, its best move is Grassy Glide. Now Grassy Glide is 70 base power. Then you times it by Stab, which is 1.5. times Rillaboom's grassy terrain it has from Grassy Surge. Then you also times it by Swords Dance, which is another 2. And grassy terrain, grass type moves are boosted by 1.3 times. In previous games it was by 1.5 times, however it got nerfed in this generation. Probably due to the Tapus in the last generation. So in a total of Grassy Glide, times Stab, times terrain, times Swords Dance, that's going to be a base power of 273, making Rillaboom first as the strongest. Next, you have Inteleon. Now, Inteleon has Snipe Shot. Now, Snipe Shot is 80 base power times the critical hit it has. Oh, and also I forgot to say for Rillaboom, its base attack stat is 120. Grassy Glide has a priority of 1, and you set up for 1 turn of Swords Dance. Okay, now onto Inteleon. Now Inteleon, shot, so that's 80 base power. Times critical hit, which is 1.5 times a Sniper, which is its hidden ability, which is 1.5 times again. And then finally times Stab, which is another 1.5. And that equals a base power for its main stab attack for 270. Not far behind Rillaboom at all. Now, its base special attack stat is also 125. However, Rillaboom uses its attack stat, which is also 125. However, Inteleon, unlike Rillaboom, it has a priority of 0. But it has a turn of setup, which is 1, where it sets up Focus Energy, which basically has a higher chance of landing a critical hit. And if Inteleon lands a critical hit, its hidden ability Sniper adds an extra 1.5 times. Okay, now the third one, which is surprising, is Cinderace. And not even close to far behind. So with Cinderace, it has its normal stab attack. However, the good thing about Cinderace is due to its Limbera ability, which I'll show you, changes the Pokemon's type to the type of the move it's about to use. Any of these moves could be stab, which is amazing. However, still its signature move, Pyro Ball, is the strongest. And of course times it by stab 1.5. And that only equals 180 base power. It's okay, but not as good as Rillaboom and Inteleon, of course. Now, of course its base power for main stab attack is 180, like I just said. Then its base attack stat isn't as high as Rillaboom's base attack stat, which was at 125, but it's quite close, 116. Now, its priority is 0, however, just like Inteleon, Cinderace is quite a fast Pokemon. And turns of setup, unlike Rillaboom and Inteleon, is 0. So, in conclusion, Rillaboom's first for the highest damage, then Inteleon, then Cinderace. However, that's going to change, because with typing, remember how I said about Cinderace's Limbera ability, if that's how I pronounce it? Well, its typing basically change every single time, which makes Cinderace have the best typing. Because for say if Cinderace starts out as a fire type, but you're up against a ground type or something, and it's going to do super effective damage against you, you could then switch into a psychic type, and that ground type isn't going to do super effective damage against you, while you're still going to do a stab move. And that could be said for any scenario with Cinderace. That's why it has the best typing, because it can literally change into any typing. Now, next is Inteleon as the second best. Now, Inteleon and Rillaboom, there's nothing special about them, but I believe the water type in general is better than the grass type. Just because the water type has less weaknesses and less types resist it. However, whereas the grass type, the grass type's weak against lots of typings, and lots of typings resist the grass type. That's why I put Rillaboom last. Okay, now to move coverage. Now, I'm not going to go through every single move. I'm just going to go through the move coverage which will help the Pokemon against other types which they may struggle with their normal stab attack. Now, again, in first place is Cinderace. Now, Cinderace can basically change into any of its moves to stab. So basically, no matter what typing it is, most of the time, you're going to do a normal amount of attack. Like, the opposing Pokemon won't resist any of your moves. Unless it's a rare scenario where it could be a special dual typing which could resist all of it. Well, in my case, even though I just want to say my Cinderace's set isn't the best, just because I could have had Sucker Punch and High Jump Kick, which I also want to say are really good moves. With Sucker Punch even having priority of 2, not 1, 2. But the thing about those two moves are I have to breed with a specific Pokemon to get those moves, which I'm quite lazy to do. However, those could be better coverage moves rather than Zen Headbutt and U-Turn. Just saying. So now on to Inteleon, where I think is the second best. Now the reason why Inteleon is the second best is just single-handedly because Inteleon has Ice Beam. Now, the Grass type, Dragon type, and Water type resists a Water type attack. However, due to Ice Beam is super effective against Dragon and Ice. Dragon and Grass. However, sadly, nothing is super effective against Water, but that's okay because I think a Water type wouldn't also go up against Inteleon, because then it won't do too much damage too, unless it has like a Grass or Electric type move. Now sadly, once again, Rillaboom is last. And as seen in my Rillaboom set, which I will show you on, not Galvantula, Rillaboom. Okay, So Rillaboom can't deal, basically the grass type, lots of typings resisted. However, if you add high horsepower and acrobatics, there are more types Rillaboom can deal with, such as fire or bug, for say. I can't remember all of them off by heart. But there are, however, sadly, the flying, grass, and dragon types will still resist all three of these attacks. Unless they are a specific dual typing, of course. But I'm only talking about singular typings right here. So any of these three typings, if Rillaboom goes up against, it's not really going to have a good time. Sure, it could use like one of these two moves, but it's not a stab move, even though it'll hit neutrally. It won't do too good. So that's basically why I put Rillaboom in last. However, this is all going to change, as the fourth thing I'm going to base the criteria off of is the most bulky. Now, basically Rillaboom is first, and as you see by its stats, well, its base stats, Rillaboom has a base HP of 100, then it has a base defense of 90, and a base special defense of 70. Now, base special defense of 70 doesn't sound too good, but the base 100 and 90 of HP and defense respectively are quite good. And with Grassy Surge, you could also pair this up with the item of Grassy Seed, which if you read the description, it boosts your defense by 1 stage when Grassy Terrain is activated. However, it can only be used when you switch into a different Pokemon and then switch back, you won't get that boost again. But that's alright. So that's why you see my Rillaboom set, how I put EVs into attack and defense. Special defense isn't too good, but I feel like the HP can slightly carry it. So Rillaboom won't get one-shotted, but instead two-shotted, which isn't as bad. Now, second most bulky is Cinderace. Now, at first glance, Cinderace isn't that bulky. Like, it's alright, it's not the worst. But if you see here, well, you can't really see, but my stats, Cinderace has HP of 150, defense 90, and special defense 90. But its base HP is at 80, base defense 75, and base special defense at also 75. Now, the thing with Cinderace is why I put it, well, I would have already put it higher than Inteleon, but why it's actually more closer to Rillaboom than Inteleon is just due to Cinderace having Libero. So, for say again, what if, let's just say, maybe you change into a Psychic type, and then there's a Dark type against you. Then you can change into Iron Head, where then Cinderace turns into a Steel type and resists that Dark type move, which a Pokemon will attack Cinderace with. This makes Cinderace more bulky, as it can resist more typings. Which is why I believe Cinderace is quite good defensively as well as offensively, even though it may not look like it at first glance. Now, of course, the most frail out of them all is Inteleon. Now, Inteleon has a base HP of 70, a base defense of 65, and a base special defense of 65. Now, this is quite frail, and that's basically why Inteleon is more like a glass cannon. Cinderace is also a glass cannon, but it's a more bulky glass cannon, which can take a hit or two and still survive. So that's basically nothing I really need to say else for Inteleon. So let's move on to the hidden abilities. Now, as I've been talking this whole video about Cinderace's hidden ability, Libero, obviously it's going to be first. Now, this hidden ability is amazing. Like, literally changing into any type depending on the move you have. Not that just you have stab, but you could also strategically change into a typing, so that the Pokemon who's attacking you, you could resist their move. So it's good offensively and defensively. Second is Rillaboom, who also has Grassy Surge. Now, Rillaboom, Cinderace and Inteleon, they're quite decent without their hidden ability, but Rillaboom isn't that good without its hidden ability. Like, it's decent, but it's nothing amazing. But Grassy Surge makes Rillaboom so good. It's not as good as Cinderace's ability, but it definitely improves Rillaboom the most. But overall, Cinderace is still, I believe, better than Rillaboom for its hidden ability. So Rillaboom's Grassy Surge, of course, it turns into grassy terrain. This can be good to use like the new tutoring move in the Isle of Armor, which is Grassy Glide, which has 70 base power and also a priority of 1 when in grassy terrain. And Grassy Surge can also be paired up with other Pokemon who can benefit off Grassy Surge as well, which is why it's amazing. Now, Inteleon. Even though Inteleon is last, his hidden ability is still amazing. Now, what Sniper does is, if Inteleon gets a critical hit, normally critical hits boost a Pokemon's attack by 1.5 times. I mean, the power of their move. But with Sniper, it boosts it by an extra 1.5 times, which means it's times by 1.25. It's not times 2. That's one thing I've seen an error when people see the ability Sniper. They think it higher a chance of getting a critical hit, but that's not the case. It actually increases the power of a critical hit, but doesn't increase the frequency of it happening, which I believe is actually better. Now, Sniper is quite a good ability, however, compared to the phenomenal abilities of Rillaboom and Cinderace, I'm sorry Inteleon, but I think you do have the worst ability, even though it's still amazing. Now on to speed. Now, for once, Inteleon's actually the best. So Inteleon has a base speed of 120. Now, as you can see here, my Inteleon has base speed of 175. Now, 120 speed is quite good. It can outspeed quite a lot of Pokemon, but there's still quite a few Pokemon which lots of people use, like Barraskewda or Dragapult, who can still outspeed Inteleon. But still, those are only a few Pokemon which can outspeed Inteleon, even though there's so many Pokemon Inteleon can outspeed. Now, coming in second is actually Cinderace, by only 1 base speed lower. Even though here you can see Inteleon has 175 speed and Cinderace has 188, it's because of Cinderace's nature being jolly, whilst Inteleon's nature is modest, which increases special attack and decreases attack. But Cinderace's ability increases speed and decreases special attack. That's why it has more speed, if you just were wondering. But Cinderace's base speed is 119, which is 1 lower than Inteleon's. Now last is Rillaboom, with a speed stat of 85. Oops, sorry. Now Rillaboom's speed stat is okay, like it's in the speed tier where it isn't so slow that you can pair it up in a Trick Room team, but it's not so fast that it can be a total sweeper. However, Grassy Glide really benefits its speed stat because it can basically have priority, which is better than having no priority when compared to Inteleon and Cinderace. For say, if Rillaboom's up against an Inteleon, and it uses Grassy Glide, it's still going to outspeed that Inteleon, just because of that 1 priority. Unless an Inteleon has Sucker Punch for some reason, then I guess Inteleon will outspeed. So now onto the cons and anything negative about these Pokemon. Now the Pokemon with the least cons is Cinderace. Now I couldn't really find any major cons about Cinderace, besides some minor factors which would only occur in obscure scenarios. If you do think of any bad stuff about Cinderace, please let me know if you want, or if anything I basically missed in this whole video. Because there's a lot to cover and I probably missed over at least something. Okay, now Rillaboom is next. Now the main con with Rillaboom is even though it has Grassy Glide which has priority, Rillaboom could get outsped by another Pokemon if it uses a move which isn't Grassy Glide. Now what I'm talking about is if, you know how I said how there's a lot of typings which resist the grass type? Well, if Rillaboom's against one of them, he can't use Grassy Glide. For example, if he's up against a fire type, which isn't that good against grass types. He has high horsepower, which is super effective against a fire type. However, would Rillaboom have enough speed to outspeed that fire type before it one-shots the Rillaboom? Well, based on the set I made with the Grassy Seed, if it's a physical fire type move, I feel like Rillaboom could bulk it. But if you have a different set, Rillaboom could maybe not bulk it. And if a special fire type move attacks Rillaboom, it's gonna get one-shotted. It could go for the high horsepower and defeat the fire type, but it probably won't even be fast enough to outspeed the fire type. Sure, you could put EVs into speed, but in my set, I didn't really bother to put EVs into speed because I feel like lots of Pokemon will still outspeed Rillaboom. But that's another set you could use, but personally for me, I like putting EVs into attack and defense to pair up with that Grassy Seed. Now Inteleon. Inteleon also has one problem, and it's probably the biggest problem out of them all. That's why it has the most cons. Now the issue is, even though Inteleon needs to have a turn of setup, the issue with it is that Inteleon's quite frail. So if Inteleon gets one-shotted on its setup turn, you're basically going to do nothing. Sure, you could put a Focus Sash on it, right? But the thing about Scope Lens is it increases critical hit ratio by 1. If you don't have the Scope Lens and have Focus Sash and you set up Focus Energy, that's going to be the same like not setting up Focus Energy and only having the Scope Lens, which will basically be around a 60-ish percent of having you to land a critical hit, which isn't too good. That's why you need Inteleon to be paired up with the Scope Lens. If it's not paired up with the Scope Lens and doesn't set up Focus Energy, like if it has a Focus Sash and sets up Focus Energy, it's going to be the same as Inteleon having Scope Lens and not setting up with Focus Energy. So the way I would do it is just do your normal attack, but if you feel like the Pokemon won't one-shot you, then it's better to set up with Focus Energy so you can just sweep the opposing team. So that's basically it. Now onto my final verdict about all these 3 Pokemon. Now, in my opinion, so the way I tallied it up was, if a Pokemon came first, I gave them 3 points. If they came second, I gave them 2 points. And if they came third, 1 point. So basically the worst out of them all, which even though this Pokemon's the worst, it's still quite decent, it's Inteleon, who based off my criteria got 12 points. Now the second best is Rillaboom, who on my criteria got 14 points. And then finally, of course, the best is Cinderace, who got a whopping 17 points. So that's basically it. In my opinion, I feel like Cinderace is the best. To ask my question at the start of the video, which is the best Galar starter competitively in Wi-Fi battles? For me, in my opinion, the best is Cinderace, followed by Rillaboom, and then Inteleon. I'm not saying that any of these Pokemon are bad. However, I'm just saying that Inteleon's the worst when compared to them all. But they're all good and you can use them in specific sets. So that's basically it. I do want to quickly go through my sets for all of these 3 starter Pokemon before I wrap this video off. So first of all, with Inteleon, I paired it up with Scope Lens. I put EVs into special attack and speed, of course, hidden ability Sniper. You can notice that I haven't got enough Max Mushrooms to turn them into their G-Max forms. I'll probably do that later when I do get enough Max Mushrooms. So with Inteleon's moves anyways, I got U-Turn, Snipe Shot, which is the main move it's going to use. If it's up against a Dragon or Grass type, use Ice Beam. Focus Energy to set up, but if I know Inteleon's going to get one-shotted, I'm just going to go for the Snipe Shot anyways. And basically the thing is, pair up with Scope Lens, which has around a 2 in 3 chance of landing a crit. But if I set up with Focus Energy, that's almost 100% chance of getting a crit. However, if I don't set up Focus Energy, I'll still have a decent chance of getting a crit. Not the highest, but quite good. And of course, nature modest, like that means high special attack, low attack. And now onto Cinderace. Cinderace, I basically go with either Life Orb, Assault Vest, or Leftovers. Like, I don't really have a proper item to use for Cinderace. Then I go for EVs into attack and speed, of course. Libero changes the Pokemon's type to the type of the move it's about to use. Now, if I weren't lazy enough, I would have probably switched out, I'd say I'd switch out U-turn for Sucker Punch. I probably wouldn't have put High Jump Kick anyways. I feel like I'd rather Zen Headbutt. But I may have changed my mind if I wouldn't have been lazy enough. So basically it can change into any of these types. It's quite straightforward. Just go for whatever type is the best against the Pokemon you're faced up against. Nature Jolly, so plus speed and minus special attack, I believe. Yeah, that seems about right. And now onto Rillaboom finally. Now Rillaboom set is probably the most different out of all the other two sets. Those other two sets are quite basic sets. Besides Cinderace, of course, I didn't use High Jump Kick or Sucker Punch because I was too lazy. Now Rillaboom has a Grassy Seed. Boost defense on grassy terrain. That's why I put EVs into defense and attack. That defense is going to be quite bulky. Rillaboom can definitely tank at least one super effective hit, that's for sure. Well, a super effective physical hit. If it's special hit, it's probably going to get screwed up. Anyways, Grassy Glide for priority with the terrain. That's going to do a lot of damage, especially if you set up with Swords Dance on turn 1. I would only not set up with Swords Dance if you know the opposing Pokemon has a super effective move, where the super effective move is a special move. High horsepower for other types which resist the grass type, and same as acrobatics. Acrobatics is good because once your Grassy Seed gets activated on turn 1, you can use acrobatics. Well, it doesn't get activated on turn 1, it just gets activated straight away. And acrobatics will do 110 base power when the Pokemon has no item, which will be Rillaboom in this case. Its nature is Adamant, which is the same one, basic one from Pokemon Home. I just kept the ones I got from Pokemon Home. That nature is plus attack, and then minus special attack. Yep. And that's basically about it for these 3 sets. If you do want to use these 3 sets, please do so. Even though I got these 3 sets from other websites like Smogon and other people's videos. So these aren't my original sets or anything. Just to say that out loud. So yeah, that's about it for now. So thanks for watching. See you guys later. And bye.